I wasn't a Christian at that time. And I do still look back and I'm like, oh, if I only would have known to pray, or if I would have only just believed a miracle in that moment, and I didn't have that.
I had this weird thing when she told me she was pregnant with that second baby. I didn't feel as connected with the baby in some way. And then we lost the baby, and it was a weird experience for me. And I just disassociated.
I was so mad at you for not being there. And I was mad at myself for encouraging you to leave. And those are the things that unintentionally create a wedge.
Extreme resentment.
Hey everyone, today's episode is really special. We had the honor of traveling to California to be guests on the Fordify Show with our dear friends Jake Havron and Emily Ford. They're newlyweds, a power couple in every sense, branding experts, business experts, and true lights in this world who are using their lives to uplift others and help people share their message. They've made a big impact in our lives, and we know they're going to be amazing parents one day.
We've been married almost 10 years, and they're actually just getting started on their journey as husband and wife. So this conversation was all about two couples at different points in the journey, getting together and talking about real life. Specifically, we talked about what shifts after the honeymoon season, how to deepen connection and intimacy, and what to consider when preparing for children.
We even got into some tougher topics like miscarriage and some of the mistakes we made early on. And our hope is that it might help other couples navigate those early years with a bit more grace and awareness.
And even though this aired on the Fordify Show, we had to share it here with our Home on the Rock audience too, because this is really just friends sharing notes and growing together. We hope it blesses you the way that it blessed us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fordify Show. Today, it is not just me, and it's not just me and a guest. It's me and one of my favorite couples. Crystal, Rose, Harvey, and Tiago Harvey are joining us today. They are great friends of ours. And I'll also share, I have my husband, Jake Havron, here. And these two are very, very special. They are not only big-time entrepreneurs, parents, thought leaders. They have decided to launch their podcast and their new channel called Home on the Rock. And I wanted to have this conversation today with them because they inspire me so much. They have been married close to a decade or over a decade, and they have gone through so many things in their relationship, and they are willing to actually talk about it. And what I mean by that is they share the hard times and the lessons that they've gone through in hope to help other couples as well. And they are also parents to two little boys, and they talk openly and honestly about becoming parents and navigating what that even looks like. And really their new podcast, their new company, Home on the Rock, I believe in today's day and age is so needed. We need to have honest conversations that will truly help people, and that is why they are here today on the Fordify Show. So after the episode, go subscribe to Home on the Rock as well, because you're going to want more content from these two. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. We're happy to be
thank
here.
you. It's
Thank
good to be
you.
here with you.
Yes, I'm so proud to know you both. And we have known each other for a couple years now, through events and working a little bit with you, Crystal. And then, you guys recently decided to have and start Home on the Rock. And I want you to share with me, where did that all come from and why are you doing it?
When we got married, and I think this is true for most couples, when we get married, we get to focus on just us. It's the two of us. And when we first got married, we traveled, we did all these things. And in the back of our head, we're like, one day we'll be parents. One day we'll be parents. And I had my idea of what it was going to be like to be parents. And I was really excited for it, and I was really anticipating it. And what I really believed was going to happen was it was going to be adding to what it already was, and it was going to be great. And what we found is that it is great. It is amazing. It is beautiful. And it's the hardest season that we've ever been through. And it was true that everything changed, because that's what we hear all the time. Everything changes when you have kids. Everything changes. And what we weren't prepared for is how much we would change. And it was a hard season on our marriage. And we really want to share our notes from our experiences, from our challenges, because I believe it's a very vulnerable space. It's a very vulnerable space. And what's on the other side of that can be incredibly beautiful. And there are a lot of people that don't make it to the other side of that because they are so busy looking back to how it used to be and thinking how it was supposed to be. And that's really where it was born. It rocked us. It rocked us. And we want to come back and help other couples prepare for the storms that are coming.
Wow. Thiago, would you say that that's about the same vision, mission, what you experienced? You were part of that marriage, weren't you?
Absolutely. And I can humbly say I made so many mistakes, and trying to work through that and grow together versus growing apart has been what our consistent effort and intention has been about. Because like she said, I have friends that they had children and they weren't working on their relationship, and now the kid is growing up either missing mom or missing dad. And that's really what we want to help couples with, is preparing, because everybody says, oh, there's no manual when you raise kids. Everybody kind of laughs and chuckles about that in the moment. And then in the real world, what it looks like is it's hard, and you feel like you're by yourself. And I feel like I want to help her, but I don't understand her, or I don't know what she's going through. She's a woman, I'm a man. We have very different experiences, but I know we're on the same team. And sometimes I think in the stress of the moment, I treat her like an adversary, or I look at her as, well, you're going through what you're going through, and I'm never going to understand you. So in the moment, sometimes that comes off as her feeling like there's not that connection, or there's a lack of intimacy there. And some of the things that used to work in the past, like what you said before we had kids, no longer works. The same flirting didn't work like it used to, or some of the things
Emily, why you keep looking at me when I'm saying these things?
No.
Is there a little twitch in your neck? You keep looking at me.
Continue on.
And so there's just been a lot of beautiful challenges that God has gifted us with, because it's forced me to be better. And it's not always what I would have probably defaulted to. And therefore it's been a gift. And to grow through a lot of the things that we've grown through together, like I said, so many couples grow apart. And if we can just share some of that honestly, humbly, and talk about some of the things. I know couples, most of them, they want to have kids, right? But have you guys ever talked about miscarriage as you're trying to have kids?
No.
You know, a lot of times you don't hear about miscarriage, or you don't talk about miscarriage until you're in it. And it's almost like if you're an investor, for example, what do you talk about? You talk about in your pro forma a bull market or a bear market scenario, and you plan for everything in between. Well, the bear market of trying to have children is, well, maybe you get pregnant and then you don't, or you lose the baby, or maybe you can't get pregnant. And if you don't have those conversations in advance, then it can really smack you in the face.
Wow.
And that's hopefully what we're able to do, is just proactively share from our own experience, so that maybe a couple who's wanting to have kids would say, well, okay, now that we're talking about this, babe, this is how I would want to show up if you miscarried. Versus in the moment, I say that's how I want to show up, but then I show up way less than that, or I don't show up at all. And then we're reacting to that, and that causes divide or stress or problems.
That's insightful, because, evidently we don't have kids yet. We're married. I believe probably over half of the listeners are probably married, or, soon to be. And maybe half of those people maybe have kids, right? So there's a good majority that can relate with what you're sharing. And everyone has their own life experience. And everyone is either soon to be a parent, or everyone in a way will have kids or maybe do have kids right now. What really stands out for me is what you guys stand for and what you provide to your kids, to your family. And I think that's an important thing, right? Because you're not just in someone that doesn't know you, you're not another, couple, and you're not another family. You have specific values. You have specific ways that you want to raise your kids. Can you share more on that? Because I think that's going to really help us understand, the validity of what you guys seen that has worked. Like, what do you stand for with the family? Like with the home on the rock, like what does that mean to you? And why are you really bringing that in versus just trying to raise good kids?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Do you want to?
Yeah, when it comes to how we want to raise our kids, we want them to be strong. We want them to be confident. We want them to know the truth. And for us, in the beginning of our marriage, we were not as solid in what we now know to be true, and that's our faith. That was missing for us. We have always had a foundation of personal development, of growth, of leadership, of personal responsibility and communication, a commitment to really deepening our intimacy and growing together. We had all of that, and I'm grateful for all of that because that did help us when we had kids. It did. We had a foundation on that first. We had a foundation on strategy.
How did that help you? Like that specific part? Like what's one thing that comes to mind?
Being able to have conversations.
I mean, I can share specifically. So my relationship with my father, I would say, made my relationship with my Heavenly Father more challenging. And I've heard that now that I've gone down this path. And for me, I felt like I love my dad so much, and I have so much more respect for him now that he's passed, now that I'm a father, and I understand the way in which he raised us. And I was rebellious, and so we butted heads. And I always wanted to be free and be able to do what I want and have fun, and I felt like he was always this kind of rules-based, strict father that I had. And I know it was from his heart, wanting to do the best, and I get that now. But when my son watches a cartoon like Bible Man, or he watches something like, what's the other one? Storybook, and he hears the story, Superbook, and he hears the story of the prodigal child, the prodigal son, I'm like, wow, what if I would have heard that when I was a kid? Because I know there were things that I did and I made mistakes, and I would lie to my parents to cover it up so I wouldn't get in trouble. I was so afraid of the punishment from my father. There was even a time I got arrested in college and I never told my dad. And he wanted to be on my team. He's like, how could you not tell me this? Like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. And I was more fearful of him than I was of the law or anything outside of my dad's punishment. And so I felt like there were things that I did that were unforgivable and was so afraid. And for my son to now hear that story and know that there's nothing he can do in the whole world that we wouldn't forgive him for, that's a story that if I would have had a Christian upbringing, maybe I would have heard and had a totally different relationship with my father and my Heavenly Father. So the fact that my son is hearing that, whether it's in a cartoon or we talk about it because it came up in Bible study or he goes and hears that at church, I think that's the actual application of how powerful this can be in shaping our relationship, but also ultimately his relationship with God.
Yeah. And to go back to what you were saying, thank you for that example, and to bring it to you on, it's powerful what you just shared, because there's a lot of believers listening to this. There's also non-believers, but you can be a believer and still let your kid just consume whatever. Like, just because you have that faith doesn't mean you're automatically going to let your kids start to get in that environment. So that example of like how you control, and not even control, but what you expose to them, I think that's powerful, because even as maybe a dad to be, like, that's some of the stuff that maybe I would just be blind to or ignorant to. And it's like, wow, I didn't think about how there's educational services out there that my kids would love versus some, stuff that will just make them feel and look a different way. And so anyways, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's going to really kickstart some people to think differently on their kids. But continue on with what you were sharing with that message on the home on the rock and like where that comes from.
Yeah, we had all the strategies. We had all the tools, and we had a culture of growth and leadership and intentionality in our life. And when the storms came and things got really hard, those things helped us to stay in it, to have the courage to speak to each other. Like, hey, something's off. Something's going on here. We don't quite know what it is, but we kept coming back to each other and having those conversations. So when I say that we were helped in the way of having that in our relationship, I do believe that our commitment to taking a look at ourselves and being responsible in our life kept us afloat. But we were surviving, we weren't thriving in many ways. Like, love never left us, respect never left us, but we weren't being respectful. We were reacting to something that we had never experienced before. It was the first time ever going through this. I didn't know what I needed. He didn't know what I needed. We were trying to meet each other's needs and not knowing how, not knowing what to ask for. And what was missing for us was that spiritual foundation of what is true? What is the truth? And so when it comes to this world of Home on the Rock, we want to create a bridge of what was missing for us. I think when you have only personal development, then there are pitfalls. And I think there are a lot of people that have their spiritual beliefs and they're not walking in the actual application of that in their life. And they're waiting for the kingdom someday when they die. And it's like, we get to have a beautiful life now. And here are strategies, and here is how you come in and you heal what needs to be healed. And then you build a foundation on truth. And when our children are small, they absorb everything from 0 to 3. So there's a book, it's called 30 Million Words. And it talks about how they lose no synapses during these early ages, and they are in a brain state of mind where everything that is absorbed, they have no discernment. And so they believe everything is true. So when people are showing their kids cartoons of, you know, some of the stuff that was coming out of like, oh, you can choose, you're a boy or a girl, or what, any of these things that come out, it's like planting seeds in our children's minds. And there is no more important time than these formative years to really create that foundation, that strong foundation of truth. And that is what the rock is. It is that foundation of truth, because truth matters. And it will come back, even if they steer. The Bible says teach them. Like, you know, you hear like the rod, spare the rod, spoil the child. I believe in gentleness and kindness and respect. And what it says previous to that in the verse is about teaching our children. Teach them well and train them, train them. And so in our home, one of the things that we are most committed to is we get to ask the question why, and we get to answer that. And you get to understand. And we're not just teaching do because I said so. We're teaching like, this is important, this is why it's important, and this is the truth.
Wow.
So powerful. Oh my goodness. I'm like, this is good information to learn.
It is. And, you know, one thing just really quick, and I'd love to have you add on the Bible verse that you shared. It's so I'm not an expert theology or whatnot. Theologian. Thank you. But I do know this. So we always have to look at the context of when it was said, right? And so if you look at what they're saying back then, that type of conditioning for a kid is actually was at that moment. Now, once again, today's very different. Was better than what normally would happen to kids if they were doing wrong. You'd be exiled from the house. You'd be thrown into the wilderness if you kept doing bad. So to use the rod, as they would say, like that was the right thing. So it's a good thing you bring that up, because it doesn't mean that we just literally transcribe that word for word to today, because that doesn't match today. But it does mean to give your kid the right I guess you would say discipline, but in a way that is the nicer way. And for today, now and age, instead of doing that, because now that's just like really frowned upon to use abuse, like have that right conversation, have that right pain versus pleasure with them. But I just wanted to share that because I know some people could hear that Bible verse and they could be like, "Oh, the Bible sounds terrible," and it's like, unfortunately, that was just culture a couple thousand years ago. That's not God's culture. That was human culture. And there's a big difference between the two, you know?
Well, and I think people collapse discipline with punishment. And if you look at any dog, for example, any animal, human beings as well, if I punish you or if I cause harm to you, I'm trying to teach you out of fear.
And pain.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't want us to learn through fear and pain. He wants us to learn through empathy, through compassion, through understanding.
It's good.
Right? And so what we do is we collapse punishment with discipline when in fact discipline really is teaching.
Yeah.
It's a positive thing, but if we talk about getting disciplined, I know when I was a kid, it was collapsed. And if we can separate those things and say discipline is teaching, discipline is encouragement, discipline is, yes, in our house, there are going to be consequences when we repeatedly ask you to do something and you're not learning. Because we're here to teach you. We're your parents. We don't want you to end up in prison. We don't want you doing bad things. There is right and wrong. But is there a way that we can teach you and have you be disciplined and become disciplined without punishment, or at least without physical harm as the source of punishment or discipline?
Yeah, it's
Well,
good.
because we want them to want to do good even when we're not together. We don't want them to be acting obediently because they're afraid of us, and then behind our backs, how are they? We want to cultivate respect.
Yeah.
We want to cultivate them understanding why and them having buy-in as to why they should not do certain things, rather than just not doing it because they're afraid of it, or, having worldly sorrow of, I'm sorry because I got caught, as opposed to really understanding the implications of the impact of what they've done.
And it's not easy. It takes a lot of effort, because
Way
the
more
easy
effort,
thing
yeah.
to do would be to like smack your kid when they do something wrong, and boom, you get that immediate response. They stop doing it. But is that really teaching them? It's not. And so it takes a lot of conversations. It takes a lot of steering them in a different direction. When you're on the spot and emotions are high and your kid's throwing a fit or something like that, the easy thing to do would be to discipline them or punish them in a certain way, versus the hard thing to do is when your child is punching you and kicking you and you've gone through this literally, and you hold them and you hug them and you give them the love of the mother or the father, which is teaching them, hey, no matter how I behave, I'm safe. No matter what I do, I can always come home to this person. They're not going to hit me. They're not going to exile me. They're not going to send me away. And then they learn safety. Then they learn compassion. Then they learn empathy, which are the things we want to teach them. When is it okay to hurt somebody because they hurt you?
Yeah.
So why is that different with kids?
Give me a hot take on that. You gave a good example, but that is the one thing I've thought of over and over and over again is it's easy to judge from afar when someone's, coddling someone with an iPad because they don't want to hear him cry at the airport. It's like, oh, why would you do that? But when you're the person, I've thought about this multiple times, like, how am I going to prevent myself doing that? When it's a quick fix, when it's like some sort of thing, just, give them the thing that they want because I'm just so fed up with business stuff. I don't want to deal with it. What have you seen in your life that the hug is a great example, but something else that is real that allows for you to not get the instant gratification? Because that's how I see it. You're giving them something that is not good for them long term because you are putting yourself first. What is a situation that can maybe be relevant to this type of topic that you had to make that decision to help them?
When it comes to food, okay, we want them to have a beautiful relationship with food. And we've tried a lot of different things, and some things work and some things don't. We share always, like, this is important for your brain development. This is what your brain is doing right now. Did you know you are 5 years old, Courage, and your brain is developing in this way, and this is how it's firing, and when you eat sugar, this part of your brain lights up, and then it makes you want more sugar, and did you know you do this? And it's okay to have some sugar. And so we have boundaries that are clear. And there are times, so you can have, the treat window is how we've handled that, because we also believe in, I don't want them one day to have never had a treat their entire life, and then they're in college, and they,
Go crazy. Yeah.
because they've never had it. And I don't want them to go to friends' houses and get sick if they have a little bit of sugar. Like, I want them to enjoy birthday parties and have cake. And so we've really been in this space with them of we have what our body needs first, and then we can have some of what we want. And your treat window is after lunch and before dinner. And here's why we don't do treats at night, because you're not going to sleep well. Right? So there's a lot of explanation. There is a lot of describing why we're choosing things. And we lead with, and one day you're not going to have us telling you what to eat. And my dream is that you are telling yourself this, and you're taking the best care of your body, because you're amazing and you're powerful, and you're going to be the best when your body is healthy. And so breathing life and giving a lot of explanation. And sometimes it would be so much easier to give them a cookie when they cry or they want 3 more. And again, like, there will be times like we're at birthday parties or it's a holiday, and it's like, have fun, get crazy, let loose. I hope you get a tummy ache.
Yeah.
I don't say it.
Yeah.
I think it sometimes. I'm like, that's also going to teach them,
Right.
without us having to say
Right.
it. Like, this is what happens when you eat too much sugar. Like, I want them to have some of those experiences. Like, go get a little sick. You won't want to. And there are times that they've had that happen, and it's worked out beautifully. So.
And I think you asked such a good question. She gave like a really good example of like food and creating boundaries. We do the same thing. I have an iPad. He does not have an iPad, right? But he's already played on it. He's been exposed
Our
to it.
2-year-old has not.
He watches them sometimes, but
our 5-year-old has some access to the iPad now.
And one of the things that we would say before we had kids was like, oh, we're never going to let our kids watch too much TV. No, we have gone back on that a little bit, and we have definitely let some of our kids watch too much TV at times. And the reality of it is that we want to help them, like she said, responsibly choose for themselves, which takes a lot of effort and education. And I think a lot of parents don't want to do that sometimes because they're coming from, oh, my kid's too young, he's just not going to get it. But like she said, they get way more than I think we give them credit for. And they're going to do what we do, not always what we say to do. And so we want to model that. First of all, I know if he sees me on my phone all the time, which I have a bad habit of, I'm far from perfect, then he's going to want to be on the electronics a lot more. And where we said some things before we had kids, like we would never, we've gone back on that, and it's an ebb and flow. I think John C. Maxwell said something that really made a big difference for us one time. He's like, you can't be 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You can't be, meaning like there's that extreme of being the super present, perfect dad 100% of the time is unrealistic, and I will feel burnt out. I will crumble. We're fallen people. There's no way I can be perfect in that regard. And so if I alleviate the pressure from that standard, which sometimes is allowing them to watch a little bit of TV. And if we are going to let them get on electronics, then we're not going to let them watch woke stuff.
It's quality ingredients in our,
That's good.
in what they're taking in.
And so we're going to mitigate some of that, but at the same time, it's a reality that we live in, that electronics are a big part of our life, and we have constant conversations about it. He doesn't know that we're getting a Nintendo for
but classic
Christmas, but
like
it's a
old
classic.
school,
Yeah.
because I don't want him streaming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
these kids are growing up, and we talk about this all the time, in a day and age where it's like, I want to watch this show at this time. I'm like, dude, we never grew up being able to pick
Right.
exactly
Wow.
what we
Yeah,
wanted, when
yeah.
we wanted, and there's an endless supply
my word.
of a bazillion YouTube videos or a bazillion episodes of whatever on Netflix. They have this crazy, and they just want more and more and more and more.
Geez, that's
And-
how adults are. Can you imagine
Exactly.
with kids?
I know.
Right? And so,
Yeah.
and we're not perfect. I know I will go binge on like crypto investing videos, one after the other. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm telling my kid, you get 30 minutes. And it's
Yeah.
like, I get that they have a developing mind and it's different context. And I'm an
Totally.
adult. But as hard as it is for me to be responsible with that, we're trying to teach them that. And as their parents, we're not always going to be their friends. That's not my job.
That is so powerful. I love all the parenting kid talk. I do, though, selfishly want to talk about your guys' relationship. And I want to talk about the hardest time that you guys have ever had as a couple. And what was that defining moment? What was going on in your life? And what was the courageous conversation that you had with her?
I would say the hardest, there were a series of years that were the hardest. And our first child is 5.5 now. And our pregnancy leading into that, beautiful. It was such a fun experience being pregnant. He would read all the books. He'd tell me all the supplements to take.
Went to all the meetings
Went
together.
to every
all the
single-
My
appointments.
type of guy over here.
I mean, it was awesome. I was fascinated. It was so cool. And, I wasn't like trying to help her feel understood. I just wanted to understand, and I wanted to be there. So it just...
Every Wednesday, we'd read a book together,
A chapter
because literally the baby changes every week. And so when we would read this book, it would be like, this is what her body is going through. Your baby has fingerprints now. Your baby can hear your voice now. The ears have formed. And so to go through that, we would look forward to it.
We were so excited to be parents.
Yes.
So excited.
Yes. And when we went through this, it felt like such a great partnership. And then we had our first son, and the birth was a pretty traumatic experience. I had it all planned out exactly how it was going to go. Even like a birth plan, it had like glitter and jewels all over it. It was like up in the room. Yeah. There was dim lighting. There was candles, like all the things. There was a fluffy bath mat and a robe. I mean, women don't realize they get to create, regardless of whether you have your birth at a hospital or in your home, like you get to create and cultivate this beautiful environment. Like you get to do that. And many women don't realize that. And they're in this cold, scary, like hospital room. So anyway, that's a side note. But I had how it was going to go. And the thing that was not going to happen was a C-section, because my body was built for this. I did all my hypnobirthing classes. It's going to be just fine. I'm strong-willed. This is going to be great. And we get there, and my baby is a week late coming. I had gained 51 pounds. That was huge. And I wasn't dilating. And without going too deep into that story, because I could talk about that for hours, we ended up in a cesarean. And it was, we went in at 7:30 at night, all the way through 9:46 p.m. the very next evening, so over 24 hours.
A lot of unmedicated labor.
And then, yes, I am all for like the epidural. I'll tell you that story another time. But it was so hard, and I ended in a C-section, and beautiful, healthy boy, everything good. Body healing from a cesarean, completely different than from a vaginal birth. I had that experience later on too. And so that coming home with this new little baby who I was so excited to be with, and feeling this immense sense of how do I protect my child? This baby that was inside of my belly is now outside of my belly, and he's 100% reliant on us to live. Like literally to live. And let's not even go into like breastfeeding and the pain and like cracked nipples and bleeding, like all of the things that come with that scar. Oh yeah, what do you do when you're injured and you're healing from a wound? Oh, you just get up every few minutes of the evening and feed a child from your pained nipples.
Oh my God.
You don't get to like rest and heal. And that I was not prepared for. And that kind of started the spiral. Oh, also I thought, I even bought this bikini. And I'm like, oh, that's like 6 weeks after. Yeah. And I came home and I still looked 5 months pregnant. And I'm like, is this ever gonna like go down? And I just remember like sitting in the breastfeeding chair and just feeling like I don't know how to give myself like the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how to calm myself down or like, this is a baby, this is permanent. Like this is 18 years of this at least. And I didn't know, like, and yet at the same time feeling like so in love and so obsessed with him to the point of like I just didn't want anything bad to happen to him. And I became agoraphobic. I didn't leave my house for 5 months. I didn't drive my car. I was terrified. I didn't go to the gym for 2 years. I had a whole background of the gym.
Agoraphobic, just so people know.
Agoraphobic, like fear of leaving the house.
Okay.
Like terrified. Didn't want anyone to hold him.
And you were having like postpartum. I mean, even when you got in the car of just demonic thoughts or yeah.
Which I didn't know at the time that's what was happening.
Which I hear women talk about postpartum, and I'm like, how could you ever not love your child? Like, it's not even that, but I'm like, what's actually happening postpartum?
And it's not. You don't look at your child and not love them. At least that I have heard some women have different experiences. It was like never that. It was like I loved him so much that it terrified me to lose him. And to have all of this responsibility that this child like could literally die if I make a mistake. And thinking of all of the bad things that could possibly happen. And then also seeing bad things happen visually.
Would it just happen certain times, or were you just like bombarded with those thoughts and visions?
It was nonstop. It was nonstop. Like through the night, constantly reaching over, is he breathing? Is he breathing? We took him to the emergency room once because he was coughing funny and wheezing, and they're like, this is how you burp a baby.
What were you thinking when this was happening?
Well, part of the problem was that we had made this decision as a team to divide and conquer. And I think it's pretty common. A lot of couples do it. It's, okay, babe, you're going to be 100% taking care of the baby. I mean, I'll change diapers when I'm home and I'll do parts of this. But since you're breastfeeding and I can't do that anyway, you should be up the hours of the night doing that because I need my sleep so I can go to work and provide.
Don't believe the lie. It's
and
a lie.
I'd say, I think it's a common kind of decision that couples come to.
Yeah.
And on the surface, it appears to make a lot of sense, right? And it's coming from a good place.
And it wasn't him either. It was also me.
Yeah.
Like, you need your sleep. You're going to be in the
business. You guys didn't know anything better. That's why you have this whole purpose. You want to tell people before it
You're
happens.
missing me cuddling our baby. Like, go ahead. I don't need sleep. Like, what do I need sleep for? Yeah.
And so we went that way, and I want to say it was like 6 weeks. She comes back to me, and she's about to have like a nervous breakdown. We just have a conversation in our house, and it's like, hey, I can't do this the way that it's going. This is not working. And I'm like, okay, talk to me. What's going on? And she's like, I'm up all night. I haven't slept in weeks. You know, I know you're trying to be helpful, but we got to do something different, essentially is what that came to. And so at that point, I had been working on the business. I had, been putting all my focus into that. And this got so bad that it was kind of the first big red flag that this was way different than what we thought it was going to be. This was way harder than how we thought it was going to go, and that we needed to pivot. And then what ended up happening was we wanted to get pregnant again, right? And
Why? Why do you?
Yeah, I was like, wait, hold on.
How did that happen?
right.
So at this point, was it just, how was your relationship though?
So our relationship was very strained, and it was mostly strained.
Sleep deprivation, right, is a torture tactic. They literally use that on prisoners of war to totally mess them up psychologically. We weren't intimate at all because she was still healing physically.
Well, and birth control was crazy. Like this is gonna just be, sorry, Jake. You hear me talk like this all the time. I was like bleeding for months and going through different like birth
IUDs.
controls, trying to figure out like the right one, and my body didn't respond well. So not only like were we not connecting intimately because of all of the swarm of stuff, but we also weren't connecting physically because like I was on my period for months.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm stressed about, hey, we got to make more money, right? We've got a baby now to feed.
Yeah.
There's the pressure of being dad, of being husband, of trying to help her. And at the same time, like we had in our head, hey, we're going to have 2 boys. Like that's what we really want. And so then after a period of time, like she does get pregnant, and you have a better memory, so you could probably tell the story better. But then we miscarry. And then that was really the bomb that went off in our relationship that really made things even more difficult. We already weren't connecting intimately, which for us previously, that was an easy way of us connecting.
Yeah, you guys were hot.
Yeah, we were into each other.
Why'd you say were?
Yeah. No, no, but I just mean like that.
Hot for each other.
Yeah, hot for each other.
Super hot
No,
for each
you're
other.
still
It's
gorgeous.
been 10 years, it's
Gorgeous.
okay.
If you're not seeing them right now, they're gorgeous. Yes, yes.
And so that was an easy way that we got intimate, but now it wasn't. And some of the flirting that I tried that would typically lead to
Like
us
smack
getting
me
in
on the
bed
butt.
together.
Yeah, that would make me mad.
Like she'd get mad about it, and I'm like, what? I'm like, who are you? Like that used to be funny, and now you're mad at me, like I disrespected you or something. And so there was this evolution and this transformation of what worked to then what didn't, and then all these pressures and all this stress of being new parents that was like gasoline on that fire.
And to answer your question of like what was our relationship, it was strained all the ways that he said. That's like all the reasons and what was happening. And we, like, if you were to look at us, and even us looking at us, like we were having conversations. So it's like we weren't fighting all the time. We just weren't connecting. And so it's like this like insidious wedge that was being formed that we could feel, but we couldn't pinpoint. And when you don't know what is going on, it's very challenging to fix it. Even with all the conversations and even with the intention and trying, like I feel like we were both like gasping for air, like trying to tread above the water and trying to save each other at the same time. That's really hard to do. And so that's one of the biggest reasons why we created this too, is just like, hey, this could be what's going on in your relationship if you're struggling to connect. And it's very challenging to connect with each other when you're not even connected. Like I know I didn't even feel like I looked in the mirror and like was connecting with myself, much less like sharing myself with my husband. You know, I would look at him, I'd be like, I'm so attracted to you. You're beautiful. I still like you. I still love you. Why don't I want to be intimate with you? Why don't I want to have sex with you? Like, what is that? And then there would be moments of irritation of like, why do I feel irritated with little things that wouldn't used to irritate me? And then there were these other things going on in our relationship, like hidden adultery, trying to problem solve with pornography. And, I was trying to get my libido back. He was getting his needs fulfilled. We both were like, okay, fine, because like I can't have sex right now, and and now we know that is adultery, and it is very damaging to marriage, and it's a portal, it's welcoming in. There's something spiritually also happening during that time. So here we are, like trying to love each other, trying to respect each other, trying to give each other like what we think the other one needs, and using these tools that were causing even more pain and destruction.
Yeah.
So that like after the miscarriage, one thing I'll say about that I think is really important for anyone listening right now is if you are newly pregnant, you're going through your first pregnancy, your second, like whatever pregnancy it is, go to every appointment together. Go to every ultrasound together. If you can, make it happen, because you never know what's going to happen. Had I gone to that ultrasound appointment by myself, I would have dealt with all of the things of miscarriage alone in that moment of discovering there's no heartbeat, right? And so that is one thing, like in hindsight, I'm really grateful that we did that right. That's something we did right, that I would highly recommend. And then something that we did not right in the miscarriage was, again, it was this space of, okay, here are your choices. So when you have a miscarriage, here are your choices. I used to think like, oh, the baby just kind of disappears.
Right.
Like miscarriage, so you thought you were pregnant and you're not. Like I never understood like what that actually meant. And to have carried a beautiful baby full term, to then having this new baby in my belly, and to feel afraid to be a mom again because it was so hard. To be afraid to have a second child because it was so hard the first time, and then losing that second child and realizing how much I really wanted that baby. And then to feel like my fear killed my baby. That is how that turned on me into like this shame of like, I was afraid, so my baby died. And those are the types of things that were going on with me in that. And then they say, okay, here are your options. You had a miscarriage, so that means your baby's dead, and your body can still believe that you're pregnant after that happens.
Still does. The hormones don't just
It still
turn off.
does.
Wow.
And here I am, I'm so sick. And that, like, my pregnancies that happened to be for the first and like through some of the second trimester, I was very, very, very sick. And so hearing that, one of the light at the end of the tunnel things that I would say is like, it's worth it. I'm going to hold this baby at the end. It's worth it. And so then to like be in that space of like, okay, I have gone through this for how many weeks now, throwing up, like sick. I can't even stand up. And like, why? Why did you give me a baby to take it away? Like, I don't understand. And so there's all of this, and then there's anger, and there's all of this like unanswerable questions that torment. And then on top of that, it's like all of the strategy of like, okay, here's what there is to do about this. You can do a DNC, which is where they go in and they remove the child from your uterus. And that is also what they do in an abortion. And actually on the paperwork, it says abortion, so that messes with your head. And then you can take pills that will send your body into contractions and you'll deliver the baby. Or you can just wait it out and see if your body gets rid of this dead baby on its own. And those are your options that are handed to you with the same plate of, this happens 1 in every 4 pregnancies. This is very normal. This is and all the statistics that are given to you. And you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh.
It all hits you at once,
all.
and you're learning about it for the first time.
I was going to say, I
From the
didn't
OB.
even know I did not know any of that.
Yeah.
Those options.
In the moment, while you just got told there's no more heartbeat, and then, okay, now how do you want to move forward? And we're like, what?
And so then we get home, and we didn't decide anything in the moment. And then we get home, and I start freaking out. I'm like, I need a second opinion. I need to search all these things. I need to look at all these things. And I am like, in my mind, no, like this isn't real. This isn't, like, I see the baby. It's just too early.
Yeah, because you read online, hey, there's sometimes like misdiagnosed abortions, or not abortions, but miscarriages, and they say you miscarried, but in fact, they just missed the heartbeat. It was too early. You went in, and the heartbeat just didn't show up yet, or they didn't read it right on the ultrasound. And so we're holding on to like a sliver of hope.
Yeah. So it went another week, and I was like, okay, I need to come in, and I need to see the baby again and make sure. And so they bring us back in, and I remember seeing on the ultrasound that the baby had changed. Like it had changed. It had like changed shape. And I'm like, that it's progressing. And they're like, there's no heartbeat still. And, you know, I wasn't a Christian at that time. And I do still look back and I'm like, oh, if I only would have known to pray, or if I would have only like just believed a miracle in that moment, you know, and I didn't have that. And so I just listened, and I said, okay. And they gave me all the reasons. They're like, hey, this is how much it's changed. Like, it has not grown enough. Like, this is not a pregnancy that's going to survive. Like, it's just absolutely not, like, without a doubt. And they were like, and I was so sick. And so they were like, you know, a DNC and would be the fastest option. And so once in my mind, I like had everything I needed at that moment to be like, okay, I believe this baby's not going to live. I opted for the DNC. And so I go in, and they do they put you under, and they remove everything from your uterus. And then we had a trip to Omaha from Colorado, like the next day. And so we go out there, and we're out there for a while, and I'm bleeding, like a lot. And they said there would be a little bit of bleeding, but not like a lot. And so I called my doctor, and she's like, okay, well, you got to do the pills. So now I picked option one. Option one didn't work. Let's go ahead and try option two also while we're at it. So sends me the pills and over prescription. We could pick him up in Omaha. And then he had fantasy football. And this is one of the mistakes that we made.
That I made.
Well, we both did, because you'd never done anything like, I'm doing this, I don't care what you have to say. It was really like, in a respectful way, I was like, hey, I'm going to be laying in bed on painkillers, taking these contraction things. I'm just going to be like sleeping and bleeding. Like, it's fine. Like, you go to your friend's house and do fantasy football for the night.
It's going to sound so stupid now because I don't even do
It
fantasy
sounds so
football anymore.
stupid.
But like, this was one of the big things that came up in our relationship was we grieve differently. Men process things differently. I had this weird thing when she told me she was pregnant with that second baby. Like, I didn't feel as connected with the baby in some way. And then we lost the baby, and I was just, it was a weird experience for me. And I just disassociated in a lot of ways. I was like, out of sight, out of mind. You know, we didn't get that far into it anyway. I think it was 8 weeks or whatever.
9,
and so I didn't
yeah.
feel like super connected at that point to the child versus our other one, like where we had made all these plans. And she was so connected and physically connected differently than like I could ever physically connect as a man. And so for me, I processed it super different and was ready to just get back to life. Everything's going back to normal. Yet she's still super pregnant physically, emotionally, even though the baby's no longer alive inside of her. And so I'm like, okay, you know, hey, this is my big weekend out of the whole year that I love and I live for, and I love playing fantasy football with my boys, and that's why we go to Omaha every year. And so, you know, this thing just happened to happen this same weekend, but hey, she's like, babe, you go, you enjoy. She's trying to be loving and caring, but really she wants me there with her because she's going through a lot. And I'm thinking, well, you know, like she's already did the DNC. Now she's just going to take this pill and she's going to, you know, rest and recover at home and sleep it off.
And here's what happened. When you were at fantasy football and I was on the painkillers that made me all swirly and I wanted a glass of water and you weren't there to get me one, and I was like stumbling up the stairs to get it myself, I was so mad at you for not being there. And I was mad at myself for encouraging you to leave. And those are the things that unintentionally like create a wedge.
Extreme resentment.
Yeah, that was just
Loss
like building.
of trust, loss of respect. And those are the things that are like the deep, insidious things that can really start to cause you to drift apart in a relationship. Because, you know, trust and respect are because we still loved each other.
And there was no ill intention at all.
Yeah.
But we processed that extremely differently. And I had no understanding of what she was really going through. And honestly, I didn't try to understand. I was, you know, a dirtbag about it. Honestly, looking back on it, I would have done that so differently. And that's why we have the podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So when it comes to the two of you and thinking about being parents one day, one of the things that I also really want to do and talk about is how beautiful parenthood is. And I do feel sometimes when people hear the hard things, it scares them, or it has them think like, oh, I'm not ready for that. Or, you know, what are some of the things that are coming up for you around becoming parents one day?
Well, I mean, I think there's that book, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And I feel like just hearing these honest conversations about what you guys have been through, it's like saving me before it starts. Like I'm going, okay, this is what could happen. And I mean, I can't speak for you, but I'm sure for you're going, this is how I need to support Emily.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I'm relating a lot with what Chiago's
Yeah.
experiencing. I think that's a very typical thing that a man would do if they didn't know.
Yeah.
So-
For you in particular, and I know this because we're friends, right? Like, you have always been a go-getter, a builder, and all that stuff. I think for me, I think about like, you know, you got to lay some of that stuff down for either a season or whatever. I think personally, that's what I think about. Because I'm thinking about, like, how do I actually do this? Like, and then I'm thinking about, because I work with a lot of moms that also are entrepreneurs. And I'm actually having more understanding and grace and empathy for them when they go through the seasons. And even, like one of my friends and business partners, Sarah, like when she, like, I just know when she's with the boys, like she doesn't even answer me. Like there's like, you know what I mean? Like there's no answer. Like I just know she's not available today. Like it's just a thing, so I think in my mind, I'm just like, it's just like awakening a side of me that I didn't know before. And I'm having more grace and empathy for moms, but also I'm wondering, like, a part of you does probably die when you have a kid.
All of you dies. Yes, you're so right. And everything that motivated me, that drove me, I lost that. And it was painful. And what motivates me and drives me now comes from such a more pure place that I'm grateful for it. And in the moment, it was really hard. I lost my appetite for anything but holding my baby. Anything and everything. And that's why, like, in the beginning, I was like, Tiago, you handle the business. I have no interest. Like, I'm so glad you want to do that. I'm going to, and there were obviously so many challenges that came with that. Excuse me. But it was, looking back, it was so beautiful at the same time, like to look down at this little human and they start to smirk and they start, like when they start talking, oh, it's the cutest thing in the world. And the way that they're just like little tree frog and you feel them breathing on your chest and you feel their heartbeat and you just smell the smell of a newborn head. Like, get ready. It's intoxicating. Like,
Is it intoxicating?
It is I don't know, for me too, it was like, I love smelling my kids.
it's so,
Now the 5-year-old, not so much.
Yeah.
Things have changed. He's got
Yeah.
his scent now. But
Well,
as babies, yes.
Wow.
It could be it could be like a car scent that they would sell and they'd make a lot of money.
well, and watching your partner, like we're talking about all the hard parts. There were, like, I felt so in love with him in a new way as well, seeing him hold our child, seeing the father that he is. Like, it's like this beautiful, like, I don't know, like the light is even lighter because it's next to the darkness. And it's a gorgeous time of life.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful season. And you will. And it's different for everybody. Like, I see some moms, they're like ready to jump back on the saddle right away. And for me, I had a lot of healing to do in the area of, I was an achiever. I was used to doing all of these things, go, 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 go. And when you're giving everything, you're literally pouring everything into a new little human and you don't know who you are,
Right.
like,
And
for a while. Then
Chris, that's what you shared with me. You and I both come from a lot of childhood trauma. We share. I swear this girl could be my sister. I'm like, I get you. She'll say something and I'm like, she'll try to explain herself. But no, I actually get you. I understand everything you're saying. And something you shared with me, being someone that grew up with a whole heck of a lot and then becoming a parent. And do you think that that's maybe why more stuff flared up for you, because you didn't heal and you also weren't walking with the Lord at that time?
absolutely, yeah, it's such a vulnerable space, and I'm clear as to who I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a confident, authentic, powerful woman
Yeah.
of God. Like, I could not have said that.
So cool.
I couldn't have said that. I was all the things I was doing. I'm a fitness professional. It's like all the worldly things. Like, I am what I do, as opposed to like I am
Whose I am.
whose I am.
Yeah, beautiful. I want to get to this point. I want to ask you about, and all of us share a common respect and love for Tony Robbins.
Yes.
Our lives have been changed dramatically. I mean, he had an intervention with me about my daddy issues in front of, 15,000 people, and completely changed my whole mindset with my dad issues. And you modeled after him. But you guys were at such a interesting period at one of his events. I'd love for you to expand on what you went through and you mustered up the courage to have this conversation with your wife?
Well, we had gone down this path of having had the miscarriage and the bleeding and all the challenges with our intimacy, which was previously something that we connected on easily. And we had this hot attraction for each other prior to having kids. And then everything changed, like we shared. And these things, again, the fantasy football weekend that I chose over being supportive of my wife when she went through a miscarriage, it's hard to even acknowledge that because it's true. It just is what it is. And that's like a really strong example of, a big moment. And there's smaller ones, right? There's smaller ones where we loved each other, but we were snippy with each other. That resentment starts to kind of get into other places. You're stressed, you're not sleeping as well. And so there's all this like environmental stress that's there too. And we got to a point where literally in my head, I was wondering, we're not having sex, we're not connecting. I feel like she's a different person. Like I flirt with her, we're not laughing at the same jokes. I feel like she's trying to control me in the business now too. She doesn't trust me when I say I'm working, that I'm doing everything that I can. I think that she feels like, I'm just out here doing whatever I want all the time. And to a degree, like I still had the freedom to not be childcare 100%, which when you're childcare 100%, I didn't have this understanding until we had that conversation like 6 weeks in. And I took on a more active role in all the parts, getting up with the baby at night, being able to feed the baby. That was a big thing because then I was able to bottle feed the baby. So then I didn't have any reason as to why I couldn't get up through the night and help and really contribute and take these things on. So I started to take on more of that role. But at the same time, I didn't have the same experience that she had. And I had this freedom to even go like, adult time is different than time with kids sometimes because kids are very demanding. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. That's just how they're wired in this stage. They need us for things. And so when you're 100% childcare, you're constantly, there's no time left for yourself to do any of what you want to do. And so I think there was some resentment built there to where like, even if I was working a lot, it was a different type of work than her demands. I mean, this has been studied as if you're a stay-at-home mom, it's the most demanding job there is in the world. It's the most emotionally taxing thing that there is. And if
it's very physical too.
Physical as well, like so extremely physical while she's healing and going through postpartum and all these things. And so her experience was radically different than mine, and we got to a point where it did change her. She was different, but I was different too. But I got to the point where I was like, you're different, and I don't know if you're the person that I said yes to. I don't know, when I said through sickness and health, I was saying those things. But now here it is in reality, and I'm like, but that's not who I said that to. She's different. And I wasn't looking at myself or taking responsibility for all the areas where I came up short. And so in my head, I was starting to have these thoughts of like, are we the right fit? Are we really the right fit? Like we're not connecting in any of the ways we used to. Like we're not going on dates because we've got the kid the whole time.
I didn't feel safe leaving him with anybody.
We didn't have any family that lived in our city at that time, and so we didn't trust anybody else. We didn't do some of the things that we would do differently, and so we go to this Tony Robbins event because regardless of everything that was happening, we always had a commitment to personal growth and development. It was how we first met. It was actually when we first met, she's like, I'm not going to marry you unless you go to Landmark. And I was like, okay, I'll check out this thing because you're hot. So, whatever. And then my egg got cracked open and I'm like, oh man, this whole personal growth and development thing, people call it self-help, but I love it because it's not about helping ourselves. Like the reason we do it is because in fact, like everything changes around us when we're better people. Like our experience of life is different when we're different. And so had a lot of this training, but in that moment when things got dark, I went back to just, blame. And I went back to looking at her and saying, well, you're not really who I married. And then we still had this Tony Robbins event on the calendar. And we went to Florida, and I'm sitting there in the audience, and he's talking about the 3 C's and the 3 U's. And he's talking about how if the feminine energy becomes more masculine, right? There's a feminine energy, there's a masculine energy, and when the feminine is in the feminine and the masculine's in the masculine, then there's a strong polarization. You guys are polar opposites, and therefore you attract to each other. And I'm like, well, that makes sense, right? And then he's like, well, what happens sometimes is this gets off balance. And the natural feminine becomes more masculine. And the natural feminine, when she becomes more masculine, guess what? The 3 C's. She starts to become more controlling. She may be more closed off and more critical. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Like, well, she's totally closed off, and I'm doing everything I can, of course, which isn't true, but that's what I'm telling myself.
Right.
She's definitely critical, right? Like telling me all the ways in which I could be better, and I'm not showing up. And she's controlling. Like she's even like, I thought we had the space where I was going to do the business and she was going to take care of the kid, but now she's telling me
like,
how
are
to
you
run the
watching football?
business. You know?
Wait, I thought you were working. What are you doing over there?
And so I'm like watching this thing, and Tony's like, well, here's the thing. Like the 3 C's go perfectly in hand with the 3 U's. And he's like, well, what happens is the 3 U's, when the feminine is feeling unsafe or feeling not understood, as the second U, or unseen, guess what? They might actually start doing the 3 C's, and it's this cycle. But the 3, was it the chicken or the egg? Who started first? If you're causing her or at cause of her feeling unsafe, well, yeah, I wasn't there when she miscarried. Talk about feeling unsafe. If she's not feeling understood, yeah, because, hey, we're having different experience of this. You're a woman, I'm a man. I'm never going to get you. Like, I love you, but that's like your problem. Or she's unseen, I'm just not there, or I'm not showing up, or I'm not making the effort to, court her the way that I used to. Why? Because now I'm using porn and I'm getting a quick fix instead of, courting her and treating her and trying to connect intimately. I've tried to connect intimately so many different times and I keep getting shot down, I'm getting rejected. So why try, right? And those are like the thoughts that I had in that moment at that time. But then I'm hearing Tony explain this, and he's like, hey, this is a vicious cycle where it's not good, especially if you get to this last stage where you are thinking maybe you're incompatible. And I think that's where a lot of couples get, is they have this environmental stress. They get depolarized. The former feminine is now more masculine, and now I'm being a people pleaser because I'm trying to do everything I can to make her happy, but it's not actually what makes her happy. So now I'm being more feminine.
And that's not attractive.
And not at all.
Right? Like, what am I standing for?
Yeah.
I'm not. And so now, like, we're
Why do you keep looking at me?
No,
throughout
I'm just
this
making.
entire-
I just love
Is this a woman thing
No.
that like you're just? Am I supposed to be picking something
No,
up?
no. This is. I feel like we're with the doctor here. Like
It is quite doctoral. I'm trying to.
It's preemptive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn, and I just see side eyes every 5
just
seconds.
stop.
Don't worry,
Okay.
this is being recorded.
Yeah.
It's
Continue on.
preemptive. This is
Yeah.
before it happens.
I had
She's not looking
to
at
call
you.
it out because someone on the comments would have literally been
Well,
like, "Why? What is Jake doing?" Emily's looking at him every 5
I
seconds.
just feel understood right now.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
I don't take any credit for this. But I'm sitting there in the crowd, and like things had gotten bad, and all of a sudden my heart's beating through my chest. Because for the past 2 months or whatever, I've got these ruminating thoughts of like, are we incompatible? But that isn't what I was saying. I was saying, oh my gosh, if we get a divorce, how are we going to split our time with the kids? What's my life going to look like? I don't want to get divorced. I love her, but like I don't even like her right now. Like, honestly, and like, it wasn't you. It was just like, she's a different person than who I married. All the good times, now every day is a
I didn't
struggle.
like me then. I was.
It's a grind. Everything is so hard. Nothing's coming easy. And it was just excuse and blame, excuse and blame. And I'm sitting there in the crowd, and I'm hearing him explain this, and he's like, hey, look, if it gets here, it's bad. But guess what? It's a cycle, and you can just get back on track. And what you have to do is you have to take 100% responsibility, and you have to commit to all you're doing is helping her feel seen, understood, and safe. And that's all you can focus on. Don't care if she's being critical, controlling, or closed off. You can't control that. Like, that's not your agenda. You need to go do these things first. And before I could even get to that point, my heart's beating through my chest. We're at this event, and we go out into breakout sessions, and we're supposed to go meet with our people or whatever, but her and I go to eat, and I'm sitting across from her, and I'm like, it feels like I just had like the greatest epiphany I've ever gotten. Like, oh my gosh, that's just where we're at. And at the same time, like, I got to tell her this. I got to tell her. because A, I owe it to her. This is my wife. There's nothing I keep from her. B, every time we've talked about things, like it's hard, it's ugly sometimes, it's painful, but it's like how we get back together and move forward. And I don't want divorce. And the fact that I'm even thinking about this is terrifying. And so I'm like, hey, we need to talk. And we go, and I'm like, almost unable to like say it, but I'm like, hey, that 3 C's, 3 U's thing, like I've been thinking like maybe we've gotten to a point where we're incompatible. And I don't know exactly how I said it. Maybe you can go there. You women have amazing memories. God's gift to you guys and our gift too. That you're probably going to remember exactly what was said, but ultimately I shared with her, like I was just so terrified. There were every bone, every ounce of my body did not want to say this, but I was like, we got to just talk. We're on the same team, and whatever the fallout is, because that's what I was most scared of, is like, what's the fallout going to be? Is she no longer going to trust me? Is she going to be so mad at me that she can't talk to me? And I shared it with her, and she was hurt. In the moment, she was very hurt because she was blindsided, and you can share from that. But she was very much like, wait, what? You go ahead, because I shared it with you, and at that moment, it was just
what was your take on this, Crystal?
When we have always or nothing or never in our belief system, it's bondage. And I did feel blindsided because even though we were having challenges in my belief system, I will never get divorced. And so I was so blinded by my identity in our marriage, and like, this is like the fruits in my life that I'm most proud of. This is the fruits in my life that like we've worked so hard for. And this is like forever, and no matter what it takes. And we're in a hard season, and it's really hard, but I had never let my mind go to ever even considering divorce, or we're not compatible. And the damage that did, and why I call that bondage, is because I wasn't fully understanding. Like, I knew it was off, but I didn't know how bad it actually was. And I took very victim stance in that moment. I was like, how can I trust you? Like, what did you mean at the altar? Did you actually mean what you said? In sickness and in health, this is the hardest thing I've ever been through. And it's like the first time we've really had challenges, and you're talking about leaving. Like, I felt abandoned without him leaving. I felt abandoned that he'd even said that. I felt lied to in omission because he was having these thoughts that were ruminating and he wasn't sharing those with me. I was angry and I was hurt. And it did take me a while to work through that. And we had several conversations after that of like, wait, you actually thought about separating? Like, what, like, how can I trust, like, do you mean this is forever? Like, we had to like get to a point of where we were able to really recommit. And I shared with you earlier, like, we're going to do a vow renewal. And so that's really exciting. And we got to like get to the root of all of what that means. And I don't know, we're better for all of it, but that moment was where all the cards were on the table, and we actually discovered this is what's going on, and and here's how we can help navigate that. And one of like the really practical ways this showed up as like a healing is like one of the fights that we used to have all the time that was insidious, that was chipping away all the time at the intimacy, was a fight in the car. And the struggle of him feeling controlled and criticized by me in the car.
Who drives? Do you drive?
I drive.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe you guys can relate.
Yeah.
Or any other guy out there.
Yeah.
And it would always be like a fight because I'd be on eggshells because I'd be like, oh, I can't say anything because he's going to get offended. And now I'm mad that I can't say anything. And so all this stuff is going on. And if I do say something, then he's offended. And he tells me to not criticize him. He's a good driver. Like all of these things, right? And when we got to this understanding of like, this is a dynamic that's like at play behind the scenes and it's showing up in different areas, we actually like, we don't fight in the car. anymore. Like that was a recurring fight that we would get out of the car, not having said anything, but the internal conversation
Right.
would just like, don't even touch my hand. I'm not holding your hand right now. Like those are the little things that would chip away. And it's like, no, he is not taking it personally. Like I've been in car accidents. He realizes I don't feel safe in the car, no matter if it's him driving or anybody driving. And so he's like, oh, you don't feel safe? Okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Or like he just handles it differently. I handle it differently. Like that fight went away.
Well, in the past, I guess I didn't look at it this way, but driving somewhere is a shared experience. I know that sounds like stupid, but it's a shared experience. And I thought, I'm just driving and you're just riding. And since I'm driving, you control the music and you don't tell me how to drive. But my driving has an impact and there's a shared experience. And all her past trauma and all her past fear and all those things can be very present in every moment that we drive. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just driving. Like I've done this a million times. And so where I'm feeling controlled and criticized again, she's just feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I'm like, wow, I never got it, because at that same Tony event, he had us raise our hands and he's like, okay, guys, like, 15,000 people in there. He's like, actually, okay, ladies, how many of you have felt unsafe in the last 24 hours? 95%. All raise their hands.
The whole room, it was thousands, like 10 or 15,000 people.
Oh yeah, always.
I've got goosebumps right now
Yeah.
because it was such a visceral experience. I remember being there and looking around, I was like, oh my gosh.
The men, like 3 of
Like-
them raised their hands
like,
and they felt unsafe.
what, feel unsafe? Like, we live in the United States. Like, everything's okay. Like, we're not getting bombed somewhere. Like, what could make a woman feel unsafe, like, in the last 24 hours? And he's like, okay, how many guys? And, like, nobody raised their hand. And I'm like, whoa, we just perceive the world differently.
Yeah.
If I go down a dark alley, I'm not tripping about it the way that she might. And so in the car, that translates into, I'm driving, everything's good, I'm in control, and she has to surrender to my driving.
Right. Well, one thing that I've learned, because I also had big epiphanies when I went to that event and learned the 3 C's, 3 U's, is what the meaning is to each person. Like how you said, the meaning for car drive is one thing for you, meaning is different. And so what I've learned tactically with us, and it's always a learning curve, and I still do dumb stuff, but I've started to realize that, like, for example, a reoccurring thing that comes up is being understood, or like having a conversation. Like, I just need to, she says a lot, like, I just need to talk to you, like communicate, where I'm like, same thing, I'm so stressed, all that. And so at first I'm like, all right, let's talk. But then I realized it wouldn't be enough. And then so finally I have to get to the root with her of like, what do you mean by you just have to talk with me? Do you want me to listen to you? Do you want me to like give advice? Like, I have to get to the core of it, because if not, I've done it and then it doesn't feel like it's enough. And then now I don't understand what she really wants. And I've seen that in different contexts. That actually really helps, because if we're in like a little bit of a heated debate, and I can't think of, this is a good thing, I can't think of the keywords, I think, but like there would be like a certain keyword of, I would say maybe it's around safety. I'm trying to really think. There was a specific one maybe like a month ago, and it was like safety, but the way she felt with just dynamics of finances and stuff. And I was like, okay, like, you're getting pissed at me, but like, what do you mean by that? Because I feel like you experienced safety in this way. Like, what is the outcome of feeling safe right now? And sometimes if she's heated, she doesn't want to explain that. And I say, then we can't conversate, because you're going to keep getting mad at me, and I'm going to get mad, and that's not good. And so I just say, like, well, I'm going to step away. And then we finally get to that conclusion of whether we, most times if you do step away, like, if we really do realize we're on the same path and team, that does help, because we're not here to like rip each other down.
It's interesting though, because sometimes when you step away, that's even when I pull away even more, because I'm like, you're running away.
Well, I've learned, I used to do that before, because I just be like, this is not my time. But if I clearly describe this to you and I say, look, we're not going to continue this, because obviously we don't know, I'm going to like just go up to my office, like, but
that's actually what I want, like a strong pillar. I want a strong, stable pillar. And then when you run away, in my head, it triggers like abandonment. And then I'm like, fine, I'll just step into my masculine and do everything myself again, like I always have since a little girl. That's literally the feelings I get.
You guys have the same women, by the way.
Yeah, you do have the same women.
And we dealt with that a lot.
Which will be good to hear a little insight on this, because because there's only so much, and I get it, and I've done things where I would leave too early, or I'd be like, I just don't talk to me type of thing, and now you feel that way. But if I'm trying to understand the outcome of like, do you want to be heard? What is safety? Like,
Sometimes I just need you, boo.
but then that's where I need you to step up and share that.
I am.
So then that's good. So from the past, because we learned, this is like, we're better at it, and we still have like little heat, like we're fiery, right? But I think we've learned how to get the middle ground. Like it's the same thing in business. You come to terms with some sort of argument, legal dispute. There has to be a written middle ground before you guys both move forward, or the goalpost will always be moving. And that's how I think it felt at one point in our early stages, where you would never fully share that, or I would step way too early, and then it'd be that downward spiral. Yeah. So now it's like, so for anyone listening, that's like my key question. And tonality matters, everything. If I say, what do you mean? And I say in a snarky way, like, you ain't gonna tell me. But if I be like, babe, like, what do you mean by you need to feel safe? Can you like, and that I think really helps me be like, oh, you just want me to like really listen.
Yeah, I think what I want is just for you to be here for me. And like, that's such a, it's like high-powered love. We both are high-powered. And so I like need you to just be here, and he's analytical, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's the guy that like researches the Bible and I'm like, I feel spiritually, so I'm good, right? But so like he wants to solve everything like it's a puzzle, and I'm not a puzzle, babe.
Well, and kind of like most men are like that though. We're problem solvers. Mm-hmm. And so this was a big awakening. Like it's obvious to you. You say, I just need you to feel like, be here with me. And then I'm over here like, what problem we got to solve? Give me the hammer. Like, but that's the truth.
I know.
And because I feel like a failure, or as a man in general, I could probably speak on this because I've heard this from Tony and his teachings and relationships. Like, we feel like a failure if we don't have a clear solution in place, and sometimes being heard doesn't look like a solution to us. That's why we need to be reminded.
Sometimes I just want you to like touch my hair and hold me while I cry.
Well, I do that now because I understand that.
Yeah. So you guys have something you've created. What, 7 relationship killers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's through fire, like you mentioned. We've learned some things that work and don't work, and the 7 relationship killers are things that we became aware of through this process, having been married now for almost 10 years, and certainly not expert. We are not marriage experts. I made probably enough mistakes today already, this morning, which was fun while you were getting ready. And so not coming off that way. I want to be clear, certainly not that way. But like she said, we want to share some notes in terms of, wow, had we been aware that these were the things that were causing problems, like the hidden adultery, where, we were both using pornography to try and, I don't know. It seems crazy now.
I know. I was trying to reignite my libido.
And I was trying to still get my needs met while also being a great husband and not, getting them met outside the relationship, which just sounds like absurd.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've got 7 of them that we've discovered and uncovered that have really made a big difference. And had we not gone through this, because it's a learning process. I think we do as men want to translate it into problem solving, and women a lot of times they just want to be understood. They want to be listened to even.
They're so powerful, and everyone's listening and driving right now and pushing strollers, and I know that they're like, well, I want the 7. We will link it in the show notes of this episode so you can download the 7 and you can read everything and start to learn about the 7 relationship killers.
We dealt with the very same dynamic, and we still do sometimes, about the leaving. And because I could talk for all day and night, and sometimes he's like, we've talked about this before. And so we've actually created like our rules of engagement. Wow. And if the rules have not been spoken, the rules cannot be broken. And so when we understand these dynamics from a space of, if you try to do it when you're in an emotional state, then it's not going to work. So we have to have these rules that we agree upon, these agreements, while we're in a very sane state of mind. When we remember, hey, we're on the same team. How do you handle it best? How do I handle it best? And sometimes he wants space. And instead of me taking that like personal of like you're abandoning me or you're leaving me when I need you the most, or just because you don't feel like talking about it means we can't talk about it. Are you kidding me? Like this needs to be talked about. When are we going to talk about it? So we've created, and this can be, you know, different for any couple, but we've created these boundaries of we'll never leave the house during a fight, either of us. Like that's off the table. That will not happen. We get to step outside of a conversation if it gets heated when we are in agreement. And the only way we step away is when we decide how long till we come back. And then we have like, we're coming back to talk about this in 15 minutes. We're coming back to talk about this in an hour. We're going to talk about this tonight.
Oh my gosh.
And then they're like, it's not like you're leaving or I'm leaving. We're agreeing to both leave the conversation because how you feel is important, how I feel is important, and we're not like in this moment getting where we need to go. And sometimes there's a hug, even when we don't want to. There's like a structural language shift. He's much better about that than I am. He's much better about saying sorry first. Sometimes I'm like, I feel so much, I'm like, don't touch me.
Yeah, same.
You know?
Yeah.
And then there are times where I say don't touch me, and I'm like, you better touch me, even though I'm saying don't touch me.
I know.
How do we know?
I know.
You got to take risks, man. There's going to be some crashing
And
and
it's scary out there.
there's going to be some crashing and burning.
It is that steadfast stand for me, be here, do not leave, and be sturdy. Like I want sturdiness.
Me
do
too.
not
Brick
leave.
wall. Brick. Yeah. Like that's what I want.
Yeah.
You need to be my pillar.
Yes, I want to be the soft melt.
Yes.
And I'll be sturdy, but
Yeah.
you're not going to like it when I'm
Yeah.
sturdy because I don't like being sturdy.
Me either.
I
But
want to
then
be
also
this
women don't
flowy,
like the
crazy
brick wall
person.
because then we don't move when they have requests. So it's like the same thing. It's like they want to hug, but they don't want to hug. And it's
It's
like
a
they want the brick wall,
dance.
but then they also kind of hate it because they can't push it down. And then they're mad, you know? So it goes both
We
ways, baby.
respect the wall more when it's immovable.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's a way to do it. And, you know, if I could share one thing, because she talked about structural language, and this was really big because it changes everything, is that two things. Crucial Conversations, incredible book that taught me so much about when we're about to have a heated argument, whether it's at work or you're having a big conversation with a boss or your kids even.
Crucial Conversations?
Crucial Conversations. I forget
That's
the author's name.
not difficult conversations?
No, it's called,
Oh, wow.
yeah, Crucial
I
Conversations.
just finished that book, Difficult Conversations.
wow.
So now I got to do Crucial.
Yeah.
Crucial.
All right.
Crucial's really good.
Okay.
Because one of the things that came out of that, and I don't know, all the books and all the things get mixed together, but when we're in a heated moment, there's two things that can shift everything. And when you're heated, naturally the blood flow in our brain, the physiology wants to go to our lizard brain, which is like fight or flight. I don't want to fight my wife, and she definitely doesn't want me to flight, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the blood naturally wants to go. Well, if it's going there, there's only one way to rewire it and send it in a different way, which then means more oxygen and nutrients going to like our rational, you know, thinking part of our brain, which is to ask yourself a question. Because if I ask you a question, you're going to answer it, right? We just naturally do. So if I say, what am I really committed to while I'm staring at you and I'm heated and like I'm clenching my fists and I'm like just feeling a certain way, it's never going to be that I'm right, you're wrong. That's not what I'm really committed to. Even though in the moment I'm like, I'm so right, you're so wrong, right? What I'm really committed to is being a great husband. What I'm really committed to is you feeling understood. What I'm really committed to is being loving and that we're teammates. That's what I'm really committed to. Even though in this moment, like you are so wrong about whatever happened, but if I ask, what am I really committed to? Then like naturally blood flow starts to leave like the fight flight part of my brain. It starts to go to like, okay, how to problem solve together, but do it not just the way that I want to do it. Right? And then the other thing she mentioned is structural language is like when I get into a fight, like I have very, I guess, consistent patterns of how I move my body. Like I'll go like this, right? It's a finger on the face, it's lean back, it's like crossing my arms or whatever. And so she'll be telling me something out of the love of her heart, which is to bring something to my awareness that I could improve upon. It's not to be critical. It's not to, rock the boat or make things wrong. It's just like there's something not working in our relationship. She wants to share it with me so we can fix it together. That's really her commitment. But in the moment, it's, what are you telling me I'm doing wrong again?
Right.
How did I come up short? How am I a failure again? That's all the meaning I put to it. And so in the moment, like initially, it almost always starts like this. And then I'm like, okay, what can I do different? And the first things I start to think about is like, how can I move my body differently? And so I just sit different. And when she's talking to me, and I'm like, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen. I'm not here to solve the problem yet. I'm just going to listen. And I change the way that I move my body.
Wow.
I ask, what am I really committed to? And then eventually, like she says, I kind of lead the way in doing that because I think of it, and then she'll start to move differently.
Well, when you do that,
It's like natural mirroring
Yeah.
that we do,
That's good.
right?
when you do that, there is a willingness and an effort that I see and feel that then shows me like how I'm being. I'm like, all right. And it's almost like saying sorry. Like when I see you start to soften, I'm like, wow, he's looking at himself right now. And that makes
beautiful.
me want to look at myself right
Yeah.
now. And I notice when he does it.
It's crazy. You're so aware of all that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'm over this fight.
Yeah. It's almost
Bro,
like
they
we-
watch us even when their
It's
eyes are
almost
so
closed.
like,
smart.
you know, when we
They're
get
so
angry or
smart.
heated or whatever, it's like, I always think of the swords emojis. Like we draw our swords, and it's like you start to take the sword
Yeah.
down and the sword down, and it's
It's
like,
so
let's
powerful.
put the swords down there. Like we're one team. Like just, yeah, I do that. I have my things. I like clench my fists and, you know.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. Oh, well, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's do this.
we're gonna need
I want
like
to
a
hear.
part two.
Yeah, I think this will be fun for all listeners as we wrap up. One quick takeaway for you personally. I'll share one takeaway, and then we'll leave our people
I
with
mean,
something
my
great.
heart is like fluttering right now, and it's like this. I'm not gonna cry. I might cry. I feel so grateful for both of you for sharing all of your dirties. Like you're literally sharing your dirty laundry with us, and it's just. You know, I teach personal branding, and I always tell people, listen, if you're not going to be generous with your life, why on earth would you expect others to do the same? Like, you're so stingy. You don't share anything. And you guys are doing the polar opposite of that. And it's really just encouraged me. And I just want to tell you, like, I'm literally so proud of you guys because I believe you're walking in this divine appointment that the Lord has set on your guys' life to really impact people and especially families. And I just feel proud to know you. And also I'm encouraged even just that you're sharing so openly this relationship stuff, how it's going to help us, you know?
Well, it's beautiful, and you shared that with them. But what was your personal takeaway?
I mean, my personal takeaway, I think there's a lot of personal takeaways, but it's definitely how the fighting part, like that we just talked about, because we can both be hotheads and winners. And it's like, that's what I'm learning right now with him is like, we'll kind of just go off on each other. Like the mirroring thing I think is major, and I will run away. Like I will leave, like I will run. That's what I did my whole life. Like if things were hard, I'll just, like if you're mean to me, then I will just cut you out of my life. Goodbye. And so I am learning that he'll never leave me. You know what I mean? Like, so I think for me, it's when we have difficult times, I love your guys' standards, and I think
Yeah,
we
that's
need
good.
to really implement that.
Yeah. That's great. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
share. For me, it definitely was the posture. It's like two-pronged posture, and then just a reminder on the 3 U's. I think I've fallen short showing that to her recently because of all in my mind, the rightfully things with the stress, the business, and all that. But what really works for me, and it's been working recently, but it's still been tough. But what I do personally is I say, would all this even matter if I lost my marriage? I do that, and I think about that. I'm like, all this business I'm thinking about, like if I didn't have my wife with me, like would I even like be the same? And it's like, no. Then like, why won't you like fight for that now? And so that's been helping me. But it was a beautiful reminder on the making her feel seen, understood. We now almost have walks every night, and most times it's just to catch up because things are so crazy, and and it's good for her. Like I always notice we're heated or hot, just from business stuff, like not even about us. And the moment she can like be understood and just share, like I could see her change the state of how she shows up after by the time we get back to the house. So that was a great reminder. And then the second prong to that is the posture thing. I think that's a very real thing. And I noticed even for myself recently, because I understand the psychology and the posture and all that, but sometimes you have your own blind spots. I noticed an interesting dynamic, and maybe you could pick up on this. There's an interesting posture that came to my mind whenever she comes into my office and I'm sitting down and I'm looking up at her. There's almost like an inferiority that I feel because I'm like lower than her. Not saying that I always have to like be taller, and then I notice my face kind of just goes like, and it's like I instantly just like I'm like, what do you want? And so I do that, and sometimes I'm just like, okay, like I wish we had a lock on our door. We don't, but it's fine. But I noticed that I noticed that my
You're a jerk. No, you have been.
Yeah, well, because I have the mindset of like I gotta get stuff done.
Let me just give context. Our offices are adjacent to each other. We are business partners. He's the CEO of our company, Fordify. Okay, and I just need answers or help.
Right.
I'm just trying to move the ball.
Right. We got to work on our business communication.
But sometimes when I go in your office, like it feels unwelcoming.
Well, yeah, because of my
Okay,
posture. So anyway, so I've noticed, and this is good. I'm having a realization that
Same for us.
like what I could do moving forward, and you'll probably see
Stand
this,
up.
is stand up. So now I feel like
Stand
comfortable. I don't feel subconsciously inferior, like my boss is coming to tell me something. And I could also make sure like when I'm listening here, if I was just kind of like, flat face, you wouldn't feel good. So just put a smirk on like slightly to make her feel, even if I don't feel like it. And that was a good reminder of what you shared on, even though I don't feel that, I should do it because I know it's going to
That was a level 10 unlock.
So yeah, that was very helpful.
I cannot wait to walk into your office. Okay.
I'm just gonna be standing the entire time. So, anyways, that's our takeaways. I hope that that resonates. It's always fun to just keep it real and raw, and
Standing desk might be a nice.
I do have one. I just haven't been using enough. But yes, I could do that. So,
yes, thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing all this.
Thank you guys. It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Tell people where they can find you.
Well, first of all, I would like to just say what an honor it is to know the both of you. And you are a year into your marriage, and you foundationally have so much that we didn't have out of the gate. You share your faith. You are amazing humans, and you're serving together. And I can only imagine the kind of parents you're going to be. And as scary of a season as it can be, or as you're diving into the unknown, you expand, you grow, you become an even new person, like an even better version of yourself. You get to know a new version of you that you've never known, and you get to see each other like that. And it's going to be really beautiful to see how your love deepens and evolves for each other and changes. And thank you for having us out here. And Emily, I remember when all of this was just an idea, and I was drawn to you and how you stand in your values and how you look up and you're connected and you feel, and you are Harriet going back when you don't have to. You're incredibly generous and loving and kind and one of the most real humans.
Thank you.
And thank you for helping this idea that God placed on our heart. Thank you for helping that become something, because you were willing to listen, and because you were willing to hear it, and because you were able to hear what wasn't being said and help put the pieces together. Both of you have been incredible in our faith journey and in the process of developing what is on the horizon. And this is going to be such a big year.
Yes,
We've worked together for almost 2 years developing this brand and cultivating and creating all of this. And for right now, where we are is our podcast, Home on the Rock. And this guide that we've created that's talking all about these 7 hidden things that were hurting us in our marriage that we could not put our finger on, and they were driving a wedge and they were hurting us. And that's available and on Instagram and Facebook for now. So.
Amazing. Thank you for those kind words. We received that. Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go follow them, connect with us with all the links below. And if you love this episode or you know this could be great for someone, share it to a loved one, because we hit many different parts and it could really set them free. So until then, God bless. We'll be seeing you in the next episode.